If you could magically get rid of one thing that you find hardest about making sugar flowers, what would that one thing be? Tell me in the comments below. Today we're going to be making forget-me-not flowers, which are adorable periwinkle and yellow flowers that are sure to brighten your spring days. Let's do it. Want to find the tools, ingredients, and everything I'm using in this entire video, you can do that in the description box below. And while you're there, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and ring that bell notification icon so you don't miss out on future videos. Okay, let's get to it. The colors I'm using are lavender and sky blue, and then you'll also need egg yellow or cream just for the center of the flower. I have just a bit of white gum paste here, and I'm going to give that a knead. It's straight out of the fridge, so it's not come together yet. So I have a bit of shortening on my hands, and I'm just going to knead it until it's nice and smooth and stretchy. Take a bit of your sky blue, and we are going to start by making a master color for this. And the color that we're going for today is going to be like a periwinkle color, which is kind of in between purple and blue, but a little bit more on the blue side. And take a bit of your lavender as well. You can use any purple that you have, just be a little more sparse with it if you are using like a violet purple, because that'll be a lot stronger than this one. And I'm just putting a bit more shortening on my hands so they don't get too dyed from this color. And just kneading this small amount of gum paste until the color is homogeneous all the way through. So I'm going to start by taking a small piece of that and kneading it into the white gum paste. Then I can make an adjustment as soon as the color is all evenly distributed. So I found this was quite a bit too almost like a greeny blue, so I'm adding the lavender directly to the gum paste because I know this lavender is a pretty soft color. So I'm not worried about adding too much, and I'm also going to add a little bit more of our master color as well. Okay, we are getting there. This is the last time I'm adding color, so just a bit more of that master color as well as the lavender. Knead that through and we will be all done. I'm really happy with this periwinkle color. It's like a really soft blue with just a touch of that lavender. And that will be a perfect base color, and then we can add some blue dust after, which will deepen the color. Next, we'll just simply mix up a bit of yellow into this small amount of white gum paste. And this is just meant to be the very, very center of the flower. It's a really, really tiny amount, so we don't need a lot of gum paste at all. And I chose this warmer yellow. If you have maybe a lemon yellow and orange, that would do the same thing. So these are fairly small flowers. We're going to use a 26 gauge wire for them. You could probably even get away with 28 gauge if that's all you had, but I do prefer a slightly thicker wire just to give it a bit more stability if I'm putting it on a cake. So I'm cutting these into thirds with my needle nose pliers, and then I'm just going to hook the end and close that hook. So we're starting with a pea-sized amount of that periwinkle gum paste, and we're just gonna roll it into a really tight ball and then taper one end. Just roll it back and forth with your index finger. Now grab your cone tool and press that into the fat end. Just work it up evenly, but keep it fairly thick at this point. Now grab your 5-sided star kind of tool and insert that, and we're just making a gentle marking so that we can make 5 even petals. So using your small scissors, just snip on all of those lines that we created and open up your petals. Now pinch the corners gently and flatten the petals. And this is definitely easier if you have short nails, so highly recommend that. So I'm pinching the edges and smushing my last petal here. And that looks great. I have a very, very tiny amount of that yellow. It's like maybe 1.5 millimeters. And just take the cone tool and press it right into the center of that tiny little ball. So it made kind of like a donut on the outside of the cone. And that is exactly what we want. Now grab a tiny bit of your gum glue. And we're just gonna dab that right into the center. And I was still experimenting when I was taking this video, so the next one I'm showing you is actually a slightly easier way of doing this. We're just gonna wire it first and then do this part after. Anyway, grab your 5-sided star tool and just give it a really gentle press so that the yellow part now has the little markings as well. So just opening up the petal and giving them a little squish since they can get a bit misshapen. Dip the hooked end of your wire in gum glue and insert that into your flower. And just make sure that it's not visible too much, although the center of these forget-me-nots is quite dark, so it wouldn't be a problem if you could see the wire through. So I'm just securing that onto the wire. I'm just giving it an extra little press. And we will let that dry overnight. I will show you one more here. This is just a slightly different sequence of attaching things. So we start out the same, rolling the pea-sized amount into a cone and then inserting the cone tool into the fat end. Grab your 5-sided star tool and gently give it a mark. Then snip all the way around on the lines that you made. Open up those petals and give the corners a pinch and then flatten the petals out. Now grab one of your wires and dip the hooked end into the gum glue, wiping off the excess. And now we're going to insert the wire, and I'm just closing the flower around the hooked end to secure it well. Next, I will grab my tiny piece of yellow gum paste. And this is just like such a small amount, basically the smallest piece you can grab and roll into a tiny ball. And then grab your cone tool and just insert that right into the center of the ball. Just reshaping it slightly. And we will put our dab of gum glue into the center of this blossom. Just a very, very small amount, otherwise this will never stick properly. Just insert that in and grab your 5-sided tool and make the little markings again. Perfect. So we're just gonna fix up the petals a little bit and then allow this to dry overnight before we get to dusting. But first, I will show you how to make a couple buds. The buds for these forget-me-not flowers are pretty simple. The only little difference is that the petals look almost like they're twisting, so I will show you how to achieve that. Grab a piece of gum paste that is just smaller than a pea, I would say, and dip one wire into your gum glue and just insert that wherever and secure it onto the wire. Give it a few pinches and then just secure around the base and reshape it so it's nice and round. Next, grab a dull knife kind of tool and just make 5 markings all the way around so they all meet at the top in the center. Next, you'll want to really gently hold the base And then grab the top and just make a very gentle twisting motion, trying not to press down too much on the lines that we created. And now that it has the little twisting shape, I'm just going back in with the dull knife tool to give those lines a bit more depth. Now I'm just reshaping the bottom and making sure it's really nice and secured on the wire and letting that dry overnight. I will show you one more. So this one is just a little bit smaller. You want to make a few different sizes so that it looks more natural. And again, we roll that into a nice tight ball and then just insert that onto the wire. Secure it well around the base and reshape it, and then grab your dull knife tool and make those 5 markings all the way around. Just use the index finger of your opposite hand to support it. Now gently hold it with your non-dominant hand and give it a nice twist, and then redo any markings that you kind of made disappear with the twisting motion. So these have been drying overnight for about 24 hours, and we're ready to dust. I'm using King's Robe, Mona Lisa, and just like a warm yellow color. I also ended up using navy and this bright blue. So let's start with the buds because they're a little bit more purple than the flowers. Bringing some cornstarch to the side so that we can dilute our dusts. I'll start with a King's Robe color, and this is just like a cool purple color, but it's very close to a violet. And I'm just gonna dust that onto the tip of our buds. This is just testing out the color to see if we like it, and I think it's looking pretty good so far. That looks great. I'm keeping these buds pretty simple. You could make them a lot more complex by adding a calyx and adding a few more colors, but we're going to simplify it and then just add a bit of green dust at the base afterwards. So they all end up with kind of an ombre effect from the purple to the blue at the base. Next, let's make our blue color. So I'm taking that Mona Lisa color and just diluting it with the cornstarch. And the Mona Lisa color is a bluish purple color. And I wanted to add a bit more blue in there. So I added a bit of this navy, and I'm also gonna end up adding that bright blue. And we're gonna be using a 2-phase system for this coloring to give it more depth. So we're gonna start off with the blue, and then we're gonna add just a hint of purple over top afterwards. So start on the edges and pull the dust inwards from the very edge of the petal. So we're only going in one direction here, in towards the yellow center. And I'm using a small flat brush for this because it's such a small flower. Then I'll grab a bit of that purple that we created for the buds and just go over really gently onto each of the petals, which just adds a tiny hint of purple. Now grab yellow, the warm yellow that I've diluted with just a tiny bit of cornstarch, and dab that into the middle. So the top of the flower is looking great. We're just gonna give a bit of dust to the bottom. So just pulling in that color again from the edges of the petals. And then we're gonna add a bit of green later, so stick around for that. I'll show you one more here. So we pull in that blue color at the edges. And then I'm just doing the bottom right now. Now we'll take a bit of that purple and just kind of give it a hint all over. And then we can add our dab of yellow into the center to accentuate that yellow center part that we created. Here are all of the completed flowers, just a few more steps and we'll be done. So I'm going to mix up some green. I have moss green and forest green here. And I am going to end up adding a touch of navy to this as well, just to deepen the color. So what you want to do with the buds is just kind of feather that green from the base just up maybe halfway on the bud. So this is when I decided to deepen the color a bit. I'm adding that forest green and also a bit of navy. And always remember to add a little bit of cornstarch as well. And I'm just repeating the same thing, feathering that color up from the very wire base to the middle. And we will do a very similar motion with the flowers as well. It just helps kind of blend the flower in with the wire so it doesn't look like two separate pieces. And now we can tape them. So we're gonna make 2 bunches here. So I'm gonna take 3 of the buds. And we wanna go from smallest bud to largest bud at the base. And I'm going to put these pretty close together because forget-me-not blossoms are pretty tight. So just grouping those closely, and then we can use our green floral tape, which I'm using a 1/2 width floral tape. And I gave it a good stretch, and now I am taping all the way around in order to secure those wires together. Next, working from smallest to largest flower, we're going to use about 1/2 in each of our little bunches. And I'm just bending the wire so that each of the blossoms are facing outwards, not upwards. And then I'll just tape them one by one. And again, these are really nice and tight together. So just have them kind of like almost hugging each other as you add each one on. And once you've added all the flowers you want on this one, you can just tape all the way down the stem and tear it off. Then you can adjust to give it a bit more movement. Adjust all your flowers so you can make sure you're seeing all of them there. Then we can tape together the second set in the same way. Don't forget to find all the tools, colors, ingredients that I was using throughout this entire video in the description box below. Please don't forget to subscribe before you head out and give me a thumbs up too if you enjoyed this video. Maybe share it with a friend. I'll see you next time.